anyway, so what ends up happening is that the old man obviously votes to cancel the game. They all kind of go back, but what happens is that they all kind of go back, to their lives, etc. But then they realize that, whoa, society is just crap. So most of them, 93%, come back. I'm always curious. They never really addressed this, but they said there's basically a guy who's got a black mask, and he's kind of the games masker, and he basically said something along the lines of 7% of people didn't come back. Keep an eye on those 7% people, and I never really followed that up because I was thinking about it, and I was like, especially after the games, they're trying to investigate what goes wrong. It'd be very interesting to see who were the 7% that decided not to go back after the first game and why, and what were they doing. That would be very interesting if they ever do a season 2. So yeah, they all come back, and then, like I said, they all go through a series of games. Not going to go into all the different games individually, but again, you've got different characters. You've got these thugs that are busy killing people as well. As well as a promiscuous lady. I'll leave it at that. There's a few graphic scenes in there. But eventually, after the increase in prize money, going through the ranks, it gets to the final round. Now, intermixes, there's actually a subplot with this whole thing, in that one of the detectives actually noticed that his brother's missing, and then he goes and he finds out about this game. And he actually, by killing one of the triangle people, because basically these people are obviously they're basically guarded by these soldiers. They're effectively soldiers, aren't they? But they're dressed in pink and kind of like PlayStation icons. You've got a triangle, you've got a circle, and you've got a square. And I think the square ones are the more superior ones. And they basically tell them, and then they go into the office and stuff. And to be honest, I don't really give a crap about the soldiers, to be honest. But you have a subplot where a certain set of the soldiers are actually harvesting the players' organs to sell them off as a black market thing, because they shot, but they're still cold, they're still warm, so they can sort of harvest the organs and get them so they can make money on the down low, and they're trying to keep it, under wraps. Although this is eventually found out by the main game master guy, the guy with the mask, who doesn't kill them because they're harvesting organs. He kills them because he gives one of the doctors, who's basically one of the players, I think he's played due to malpractice or whatever. He was giving them an advantage, to telling them what game was next and how to prepare. And obviously he ends up killing those guys, those soldiers who gave him the hint, and the doctor himself, gone. I want to come to Old Man later, but eventually, going back to the original subplot, basically that this cop snuggles him because he wants to find his brother, and he sneaks in as one of those soldier guys wearing like a triangle and a circle and a square. He gets involved in this plot with the organs, but he's like trying to find out who his brother is. He's trying to find out who his brother is. He's trying to find out who's his brother. And eventually, after some digging, and almost getting sexually harassed by these you find out later. I know this is reviews all over the place, but you find out a bit later that you find out later that these Squid Games are basically being held for these, they're kind of hidden behind masks, but basically just entrepreneurs who sound American, maybe one sounds Russian or Japanese, but they effectively look like oligarchs who just are just betting on it for sport, basically, just elites really, because they've got too much money. It's like, what will they do? And then this cop basically serves this guy, and then he wants to take him to his room to do things to him, to service him well, and then anyway he gets past that guy, and then he runs and escapes so he can try and send this information to the police so they can bring backup to stop this whole thing. So while that subplot is going on with the cop trying to figure out what's going on and sending backup, you basically get to the final kind of round, and my goodness, man, some of this stuff was deep, man. I think the key moments that held out to me were Jin-hun, so this main guy here, We fought number 4, 5, 6 in the game when they're playing marbles with the old guy, and like initially the old guy is winning, and he was playing him. I know he was playing him, but he was lying that he was because he thought he had this dementia was worsening. It's like, oh yeah, sure, and then eventually he find out that like no, the old guy's mind was still there all the time when he says to the guy, yeah, I knew you were cheating. I said effectively, I knew you were cheating, bro. But then he gives him those marbles anyway, and then you hear a shot. I'll come back to. I'm going to end with the old guy because I'm going to come back to the old guy later. I'm going to come back to him. But also in that same scene, we have Ali, who's the Pakistani guy, and number 21. Basically just deceives him, man. And that's when you find, because initially you kind of trying to understand where he's coming from, number 21, with the whole his mother and the billionaire and all the rest of it. But then he becomes like, I'm gonna have to win at all costs, irrespective of who I kill. And he just goes on a killing spree from then. Like he doesn't care the fact that like he chose Ali, and he lies to him, and basically he dies and his family that dies. He ends up pushing someone off a bridge to get through, so kills, and that's when he literally kills someone. And then Seobuk, who's the North Korean defector, obviously trying to help out his brother, he kills him. So you're just like, bro, this guy needs to be stopped. And the thing is, I like the progression of number 21's character, because like he doesn't start that way. He starts as a guy of ambition to try and do the right thing to basically make his town and make his mum proud. But as the show progresses, he just gets darker and darker and darker, until eventually becomes a full-blown murderer. And whereas Jihan is the guy you're rooting because he's not perfect, clearly, because it's just interesting, because with Jihan you're like, this guy's a deadbeat dad, this guy's a coward, this guy's trembling. Literally, I don't even know how Jihan number 4, 5, 6 even got to this far. I legit don't know how he got this far, because when you look at how he got saved, like he gets saved in the first game by Ali, and then he gets lucky in the bridge game by being number 16, by being last, and then like in several games, like he just and then in the marble game, the old man gives him his marbles. So there's so many times when he's just been saved, like he barely does anything. He just gets saved, so many times. The sun thing with I think there's a cookie game when the sun is like he gets a complex umbrella, and it's like, oh, the sun, oh, it works, and it's just like, what? This guy is just incredibly lucky, and it's just weird because like he's a guy I can't really have much, like he's a coward, he's but then you end up rooting him because at his core, like he does genuinely care about people, whereas number 21, he's a guy like, okay, this guy seems to be he's just in a bad place of debt, like he didn't mean it, wants his mum to be proud, and then he becomes more villainous. So it's very interesting who you end up rooting for, and the writing in this is done particularly well. And I'm going to end here because I'm almost 20 minutes, man. So it gets down to basically these last three eventually, after most of them just end up dying. And there's a tragic moment in it as well where like in the marble game, like a wife dies and the husband just hangs himself, and you're just like, oh my goodness, man, this is so bad. And there are just so many touching moments, especially in that marble, when they get them to play against each other. That's when it hits raw. But it gets to the end, and they reveal a few things. So obviously the final two people end up being number 21 and Jihan, basically the childhood friends. They have to play the Squid Game, the game they played as kids, offense and defense. Now before the final confrontation, it gets revealed that, what I mentioned about that cop? It gets revealed because he runs away, goes on the island, and they're trying to hunt him down. as he's trying to release the evidence to the police. And we don't know whether, I mean, he might not have, but we don't know. Maybe, and I think if there was a Squid Game Season 2, it might be revealed that that information did end up getting out, potentially. But the thing is that, like, you end up finding out that, like, the game master, the guy behind the black mask, is actually the brother that this cop was looking for. And that was the first plot twist, man. I was like, it's insane. And it was heartbreaking because, unfortunately, you don't know why, because he keeps on asking why, and he just shoots his brother, and his brother falls, and just kind of like, damn, man. And he stutters, the cries, but he moves on and he continues the game. But you're just like, and the thing is, you never get an answer from him towards the end. You know, he's obviously upset. He sees the ghost of his brother, and he's just like, why? Because this guy literally sacrificed his time, his life, to try and rescue the very brother that's basically shooting him now. The brother that he looked up to, the brother that he was like, I don't know where this guy is, I need to find him. And it was that got me. I think that got me. I think more so than the final reveal, but that got me a lot, because I was like, you did all this to find your brother, man, you know. And for him to it was just painful. It was painful. It was absolutely painful, man.